for what happens in Al-Fasher. And so I'm going to say some things that I've never said publicly before here in a second. We got ground photos from El Geneina pretty early on in the killing that we had not made public. And that became very important because we were using them to measure the bodies, because there were so many body piles of Masalit men and boys. They basically caught this one neighborhood and blocked it off. And they raped the women and the girls, but the women and the girls would gather the bodies and put them in basically a mausoleum they created out of a schoolhouse. And so we could navigate and follow the RSF killing from space using the body piles as navigation points. They were killing so many. And so we got very good measurement that the average dead Masalit boy was 1.3 meters and dead Masalit man was 2 meters in 30 centimeter, very high resolution satellite imagery. And so we then detect through NASA sensors thermal plumes exploding to the north and a little bit to the south, but mostly the north-northwest. Serba, the village of Serba goes up. We watch that from space as they attack like hyenas. They come in on one side to lead the people in one direction, then they attack from the other direction very closely. And so what I'm saying is we assessed at that point for the US government that the RSF was using the fighting in the capital to finish the Darfur genocide, beginning with the Masalit. And we sent a very important secret warning saying that Al-Fasher would likely be under attack by the end of the 2023-2024 dry season. So an important thing here, any Sudanese people in the house? Yeah, so you guys know that the fighting in Sudan is seasonal, and the weather patterns are essential to assessing and predicting what people are going to do. And so we sent a message to the US government that, up to the National Security Council, National Intelligence Council, that Al-Fasher was going to be under attack probably at earliest November 23 into the beginning of 24. And we briefed the UN Security Council in private session in July 2023. So we were 2.5 years from the massacre in Al-Fasher that would happen on October 26 until now. And so we had 2.5 years of warning. And we could see from how they were moving the forces out of Geneina, they were attacking the critical SAF garrisons, but also the communities around Zelenji, Nyala, Kas, Armada, the Bol massacre. And so they were basically creating this net that the focus was Al-Fasher. And the reason why Al-Fasher was so important, to go back to the first genocide, is that the Zagawa in the Darfur, really because of, in a way, success of UN peacekeeping, had run to Al-Fasher as the safe haven. And around Al-Fasher, you have Al-Salam, Abu Shuk, and most importantly, Zamzam camp, 12 kilometers to the south. So on one hand, they go into the safe haven, and they become sitting ducks. And so we could see, by the time we get to the spring of 2024, so we sat the siege watching from space for 18 months. The siege lasted 18 months. I want to put this in perspective. Al-Fasher was under siege for 3.5 times Stalingrad, and 3/4 the siege of Leningrad during World War II. Gaza was under IPC-5 for I think a month to 2 months, correct me if I'm wrong. We were under IPC-5 in Al-Fasher, Integrated Phase Classification Level 5, highest level of famine, for 15 months. Okay, 15 months. And now that the massacre has happened and the city has fallen to the RSF, the aid workers that we talked to, and this is a good lead-in to my friend, that those who have arrived in Tawila, which Nick mentioned, which is the last safe haven out of Al-Fasher, those very few that have arrived have one of the highest rates of malnutrition we have ever recorded in my knowledge as a humanitarian. And who arrived out of the massacre? It was women and unaccompanied minor children. Why? Because they were killing the men and boys at a berm. They built a wall around Al-Fasher by the fall of this past year that we were the first to catch it. It was 9 feet high, and they had bulldozers working around the clock and backhoes, 37 kilometers long. They created a kill box, and they walled in the remaining 4 in the Zagawa in the city, and basically the last major battle to date of the Darfur genocide. And when it fell, we could see the street filled overnight with 1.3 meter to 2 meter objects. And they were in C shape, J shape, or L shape. That's because when you shoot someone and you look at them from space when they get shot, they'll fall in the fetal position or on their knees. And so we saw trucks with 50 cal machine guns, and we would see half-meter red discoloration on the ground, and that was blood. And we think we got a call, this is where I'll end, we had a ground network, we think they're all dead now. Our ground guys call us on Monday after the fall, and in the morning they say 1,200 of our family members and friends are dead. By that evening, they say 10,000. By Tuesday, we never got them on the phone again.
Thank you, Nathaniel. And I'm sorry for everyone who's lost